Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Gooners podcast.
That's the best intro I've ever seen. I'll tell you that.
No one told me there was going to be an intro.
No, I didn't want it to win.
We're
this
like
is proper professional.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
We're like a 5-pound podcast with a £1 million intro. I mean, it's so disproportional, but I love it. You know, the reason that Andy hasn't been on this podcast. I mean, Dan, you'll remember talking to Andy the last time you were on. The reason he hasn't been on this podcast for like practically a year is because he spent the entire time working on editing that video together. But,
it shows. I can totally understand that. I can totally understand that.
He's got a kid. He's opening a new business. He's got a lovely family. That's his life work right there. So welcome to a late night Gooners podcast, season 6, episode 39, called Goondermonium. I know that we run an Arsenal podcast, and I know it's a big week with some opponent that we have coming up in a few days, but we've already talked about Arsenal this week. You know, you can find 14,000 podcasts that are bitching about the game yesterday not being televised, about previewing the Spurs game over the weekend. I mean, you don't need us piling on top of that. So I've been wanting to reunite for quite some time with an old mate and explain a little bit of background why, you know, up until a few weeks ago when Arsenal's in the shitter, you'll often see me podcasting draped in a Sutton United scarf and this new kit here because you know, when I don't want to show my colors and I realize that might make me a plastic, I flock to something that is just passionate about football. So we'd like to welcome back today Taz, apparently not his real name. I thought it was like short for Tazathan or Tazathy or something. No. It's apparently Dan. So you are the founder of Gandermonium, is that right?
Pretty much, yeah. That's all my fault.
And it's a 23-year-old blog about the travails and travels of being a diehard Sutton United supporter. Have I described it accurately or put your own spin on it?
We can't claim the whole 23 years. We had a slight break in the middle. But yeah,
about 19 years.
No, I started it in 98, just writing cobblers about shit non-league football. We were like Isthmian League at the time, which was at the time the 6th tier, and we weren't very good. And it got to that went through to about 2008, and it was largely me with a couple of other people helping out. And we got to 2008, worst season ever in our history. I'm like, right, I'm sick of writing about us just being crap every week. That's me. I'm going back to just concentrating on just getting pissed and watching football. And of course, we've got a new manager in. Then suddenly we're getting into playoffs every year. we won a league title. We went up a division to what was then the new 6th tier, which was the Conference South. So yeah, it got to 2012 after 4 years off. A couple of lads, Dukey, one of them, who writes for us, they said, look, it needs to come back. So I ended up setting the site up again and just kind of gave them the reins. And here I am 9 years later, having done about 75% of the blogs this season because everyone's.
And you can't even call it non-league football anymore, which we'll get to in a minute. And of course, to explain why we have the ubiquitous Lee Judges, who is currently cloning himself on 2 separate channels, but we're happy to have the real one here. But Lee joined me in in my 3rd pilgrimage to Gander Green Lane a couple of years ago, and you know, we knew we'd have a good time, but it was memorable for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about that. But Leo, I wanted you to reunite with Dan as well, and you know, you're a man who knows a little bit about non-league football yourself.
Yeah, of course. I played at Sutton a few times, going back in the day, and always a great club, big club, really in the non-league pyramid. Like, you know, of course, famous first and foremost for dumping Coventry out of the FA Cup. Back in, I think they was cup holders, if I remember right. Dan, you'd probably know better than me, like, but they
89, right?
We knocked them out in 89. I think they won the cup 87, so they weren't holders.
Yeah, they weren't. It
was the year before.
Yeah, so and I remember that on a muddy Sutton pitch. Yeah. You know what I mean? So and
we're going back to that this year.
yeah, it was never one of the greatest pitches
No.
I remember it was always. I remember back in the day when I played, it was always heavy pitch. You know. So and then of course my next time that I went there, of course, was when we played Arsenal played Sutton in the FA Cup, and a completely different pitch then. You know, to what it was, but. Not really changed that much over the years, has it? The stadium and the surroundings of it all.
Not massively, no.
Well, and we're gonna find out a little bit more about how it might have changed due to the new status of being in the league. But I wanted to kind of assemble a panel of someone who's played there, who's been there as an Arsenal supporter on that big day, someone who was there as a Sutton
we went there as Sutton fans. Well, we all did, and Claude, God rest his soul, he went as a Sutton fan,
and he left as a Chesterfield fan.
Yes, as a Chesterfield, because Martin Allen was the manager, and he spoke to him. That. And that's how things changed.
That was bang out of order. Yeah, we spent the whole second half standing behind the Chesterfield bench with two of you basically rooting for the wrong team. But the
greatest thing was, and I don't know if Dan will have to say about this, is that. Afterwards in the bar, the players come up and meet and talk to you and everything like that. I don't know if now they're in the league, professional league. I don't know, but like it was a great evening, and the hospitality that day, I tell you, was up there with everybody. The friendliness of the club and everything like that. They knew we was down there and made us feel so welcome, didn't they? Great night. Great night.
And that's why I really, if you're a diehard Arsenal podcast person or, a supporter and it's just Arsenal and that's it, I would get why you might be a little confused as to why I care about a team that up until this year wasn't even in the Football League. But, it's just, I find it an interesting story. And if you love football, you love this story. You love getting out and seeing things, over and above what you're accustomed to. Because really, when you're exposed to Premier League and nothing else, you really are kind of missing a lot of the whole purpose behind what football really is. So obviously everyone will remember back in January 2017 when a lot of us learned about Sutton for the first time. The 30th of January was the 5th round FA Cup draw, where we end up being drawn against the upstart non-league club from South London. First of all, Dan, can you right off the top of your head, I imagine that you can, but list every team you got past, like starting in the qualifying stages, where I think you play the last qualifying and then you enter in the first round proper, right?
Yeah, because we were a National League side. National League starts in the fourth qual. So fourth qualifying round, we had Forest Green at home. Beat them, last-minute winner from a former Arsenal man, Rory Deacon. First round, we had Dartford away, who were a division below, and that was one of the most mental games of football I've seen in years. Finished 6-3 to us in the end, and it was just end to end. It was the quintessential classic cup tie. We beat Dartford in the first round. We had Cheltenham at home in the second. Beat them 2-1 again. That
was the Deacon 96-minute winner. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did it twice, but that was the one. Rory Deacon, former Arsenal schoolboy. Is that right?
He was I believe he was a junior or a youth with Arsenal. So yeah.
Not the last to join Sutton from Arsenal.
No, we've had a couple.
and then the real one where you're like, this is actually happening, and this is interesting because the next two teams sound familiar to an Arsenal fan right now. So
yeah, we played AFC Wimbledon at home. Should have beaten them at our place, actually. We drew 0-0 in the third round. And I believe it was literally about 23 years to the day that we beat Coventry. So everyone was well up for it. And yeah, we drew 0-0, had the better chances. And we thought, that's it. They'll get us back to theirs. We've probably blown our chance. Then we went there in midweek in a replay on a proper cabbage patch of a pitch. And again, last-minute winner. Scored in the 90th minute, added a third in the 94th or 95th, and then all went back to the clubhouse for a massive lock-in.
So third round Wimbledon.
And got steaming drunk.
Third round Wimbledon, fourth round.
Leeds United at home.
Who we've just drawn in the fourth round of the League Cup. So you went Wimbledon Leeds. We're going Wimbledon Leeds. I'm excited about the trajectory here,
so yeah, beat Leeds with a penalty again. We only beat them 1-0 with a penalty, but were brilliant on the day and should have won by about 2 or 3. In the end, it was all typical us, nervy at the end, hanging on to a 1-goal lead, and then suddenly it was, oh bloody hell, we're into unknown territory now.
So the 5th round of the FA Cup is essentially 16 teams remaining.
Yeah.
Is that right? And you're not in the Football League. There's 94 teams in the Football League, and you're one of the 16, and you draw Arsenal. Now, we didn't have you on the podcast afterwards. I think we had on the podcast before the tie.
I think it was about a week or 2 before the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so we never really got to hear, what that day was like for you. And then Lee, I'll go to you because you were obviously amongst the small number of people who were lucky enough to be able to go. But tell us anything you want about that day, because I mean that had to have been madness. Yeah,
it was, pardon my French, fucking insanity. It was just nuts. Seriously, for a club of ours, I mean, I was around for the Coventry era, and we've had a couple of cup runs since, and you've been there when there's been you get the interest. Everyone wants to know about the non-league side, doing the giant killing and all that sort of stuff, and you do get a great deal of focus on you, but the level of focus for a game against basically one of the top 6 clubs in the Premier League, which Arsenal are, they're one of those names. All right,
we
were at the time. Okay, we're talking about
at the time
2017
we were still
at the time the draw happened. But yeah, when you draw a club like Arsenal, I mean, we obviously from a Sutton United perspective, we go, Jesus, that's seriously a big deal. I can't even describe the level of scrutiny and interest that you suddenly come under as a club of our size playing a tie like that. I mean, it was just insane. I mean, we actually had to have a couple of press days at Gandergreen Lane, just literally just so that Paul Doswell, the manager at the time, could sit there in front of the press, chat to them, tell them about the run and all the usual cobblers that you get.
All of a sudden, I mean, this has been happening for 3 months, but all of a sudden, people now want to get caught up on it for the very first time.
It is like a sliding scale. It was constantly going up, and if Leeds is kind of like the top end, like someone's turned it to 8 or 9 on the volume knob, literally sort of playing Arsenal is cranking it past 11. It's the difference in scrutiny and attention and demand for everything is just, it was crazy. I mean, it got to the point where when we got the other side of the game, I think everyone was kind of a bit pleased it was over in a way.
That was
everyone enjoyed it. Everyone enjoyed the ride.
How long did the buzz last? Were you like, okay, there are parts of this that I didn't really enjoy, and so it's done.
Yeah, there's a few things we probably didn't get quite right in the run-up to game. We cocked the ticket sales up a little bit, so there's a few. We kind of ended up having to kind of drag tickets in from all over. I mean, but then again, that game at the time, Gandergreen Lane held just a sniff over 5,000. We could have sold that out 4-5 times over, easy. I mean, I've been watching Sutton now nearly, when did I start going? 83. So I've been going nearly 40 years. That's the first Sutton game I've ever been to where there were actually forged tickets in circulation.
No,
it's like, I mean, why would anyone want to forge a ticket to come watch Sutton night? Well, someone showed, one of the officials was like, we were in the bar afterwards. It got to about 11 o'clock. It was close to closing. And it was starting to filter out. And one of the officials put some tickets on the bar, like stubs. And I looked at him and I went, yeah, and he went, look closer. And you could tell. Once you started looking at things like the little hologram they had on them and things like that.
It wasn't just like a note from their mother, please let my son in.
It was a genuine fake ticket for a Sutton United game, and I sort of, that's a snide, isn't it? Yeah, it's a fake.
What? They got in on that.
Did you use
yeah. No, I had a genuine one.
No, I mean Lee, because.
Lee.
There were like 9 Arsenal fans that got to go to that game, I think, or something like that. So Lee, your recollection of that day. I mean, obviously we know the game ended 2-0. It was touch and go for a little while. I feel like Rory Deacon blazed one over the net.
I remember pole vaulting over the fence to get in. Like that.
You and a few others from what I've heard, but and that's in both ends.
Do you know what? Like the unbelievable thing about it is that obviously like tickets were really difficult for that game, you know, and I at first I wasn't getting one, you know what I mean? It was you know, so resigned. I thought, oh well, you know, I'm not going to be able to go to this game, and excuse me, like it was then like, you know, that season I don't think I missed a game, and home and away, and thinking, well, I'm going to miss a game because I ain't going to get a ticket. And I think about a week before I managed to get one, like, you know. So and the greatest thing about it was going through the turnstile, and there it was. You could stand behind the goal, like it was like going back into the to the 80s.
The
really.
80s.
It was going back in time. It was really going back in time, and you know, it was a strange sort of atmosphere of just seeing, like, you know, a small minority of Arsenal fans behind the goal, and you know, I got behind the goal. Like I did back as a kid, really. That's how I looked at it. Like, I'm going to be honest, it weren't the greatest of games. I didn't think it was. I think Arsenal were disappointing. Sutton, you know, come out with that with a lot more credit than Arsenal, I think, if I'll be honest. But I remember, like, Theo. I remember Theo Walcott playing, and his pace, you know, like non-league players at that stage, you know, as good as they are, so they just couldn't handle the pace, you know, of someone like Theo Walcott, you know, because they probably never come up against someone as quick as that in non-league football. And there are some quick players in non-league football, I can tell. But that was the one thing I noticed, that Theo Walcott was just that's so much quicker and sharper than what I actually realised it probably he was. But it just showed you the gap, I suppose, from non-league to being a professional from pace-wise. But for me, Sutton were fantastic on the day. Everything about it was great. The old burger stall was like doing a little trade on the side there and everything like that. And do you know what? You felt like you had to... I never get a burger. And that from the Emirates nowadays, because you know you just
have to go. He only gets them when he's in New York.
Yeah, get me in New York or wherever, like. But I felt I had to get one in Sutton, like. Do you know what I mean? And so I had a burger in Sutton as well, you know, because you felt like you wanted to help the club, and this was their great day, if you like, you know. So and every little helps, and yeah, it was a great experience. And
if that had happened now with Lee's, you know, continued trajectory up the fame meter, he wouldn't have gotten a burger. He would have just dropped 20 quid notes like every 5 steps as he was on his way out. Like, you know, just please give this to the club. Unlike this, because there's 2 train stations at Sutton as well. That was a bit confusing, like, to get to, like. But unlike when we went, like, the next time, I managed to get the train back, and I managed to get on the train and get on there. And I was sitting in the, and I'll never forget this story. And you're gonna have a go at me for it, like, you know. But I'm sitting there having a chat with, you know, like the Speaker of the Commons, John something his name is. Yeah, John Burkow.
Yeah.
We've had him on the podcast before. We've had Dan, Lee, and John Burkow on the podcast.
Yeah, well, he was actually at that game. He actually went.
I didn't know that, actually. He
was actually there with his son.
I'm having
a chat with him. We're talking about AFTV and all that, and I had no clue who he was. Someone said to me at the end of it, "Do you know who that is?" So I said, "No, nice guy though." You know what I mean? So they said, "Joe, that's the Speaker of the Commons." Order. Yeah. So I didn't even. I had a meaningful conversation till he got off at Central London or somewhere, like, you know, that he got off at. A very posh part of London, I remember he got off at, and I kept on the train. So that was my day in Sutton, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. I didn't realise, and I never thought I was going to go back, Mike. But there you go.
Well, and I, meanwhile, am watching from my local in Arlington, Virginia, watching the game being streamed, and I mean, we were all fascinated by it. We're like, you know. Some people are just like, this could be a cricket score, you know, or, you know, I just want to see how small the stadium is. But, you know, the game itself, like you said, I remember it was either 0-0 or we were up by 1. Lucas Perez scored the first goal, but at that point,
I think you were ahead at halftime. Yeah,
Roy Deacon took a shot that like grazed the post.
Didn't graze it. Look on YouTube, he nearly broke the bar with that.
Right, well,
okay. We were 2 down at the time. But,
okay, so that was later. I thought that was when it was 1-0, and I'm like, this game is not put to bed yet. And
we missed a couple of good chances at 2-0. Jamie Collins put a header over at the back post that normally we'd have expected him to head on to at least get on target, and then Rory smashed one against the bar. Young lad playing in midfield for us. He had the keeper set him up for an absolute sitter in the first half, and he dragged it wide.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if Rory or Eastie had scored in that game. I mean, that could have made their lives for them scoring against their old club in an FA Cup 5th round. But
that's what That's what they want on back pages, isn't it? The former Arsenal kid or lad coming back.
Who of anybody at Gander Green Lane was more excited after the game was over?
Who was more excited that it was over?
No, not that it was over, but after the game, who was the most excited person in the area?
I don't know. I think of course, Bedsy. We're back to Bedsy with his cock out in the changing rooms.
This has always made me laugh, and you know that.
You call me on the hop there because you haven't used this in for a good year at least.
Yeah, but it is almost 5 years after it happened.
I know.
So I'm just on a 1-year break. But yeah, so after the game, Ray Parler, class individual, goes into the dressing room to chat with the Sutton players. I mean, this doesn't not to make a pun, but I don't think it's too cocky to say that this was probably a highlight for the players getting to talk to Ray Parler. It would have been for me if I was a footballer at that level. And clearly Gomes liked it as well. I mean, he's just sitting there. I have actually darkened out this area. We don't generally show nudity on the podcast unless it's me. So
the ball fella being on national telly for that game, he should have had a sunbed, by the way. You know what I mean? So that's Nicky Bailey. He was he's like me. He's a ginger chap.
Oh, God, the guy on the right. Yeah, that's
about as tanned as we get.
So on Facebook Live for all to see, this is the situation that's going on in front of Ray Parler, and I was just being careful to make sure I got the whole thing.
See with his penis out.
I mean, I don't know if I went too large there, but I just wanted to make sure I got the whole thing covered. But how much stick did he take after this? Because this was like going around socials like crazy.
There was just so much. This is the thing. After
or was it just me talking about it for 4 years?
No. There was so much going on. There was just so much that went on around that game.
And we'll get to the other big thing in a bit.
Obviously, with that as well, the other big thing. But there was just so much going on. So much. Everyone saw something different, and I'm sure the lad, once the lad saw it on social media, I'm sure he got absolutely slaughtered at training
that'll end your career because literally you can't be looked at without thinking of that anymore. So.
He's done all right. He's had 3 or 4 clubs since us, so he's back in France now, Bedsy. But the thing is as well, it was always one of those things. Jokingly, we always meant to ask him about, and we just for a laugh and never got to.
So, but do you know who I got to ask about that? Ray Parler. So a year later,
did Ray realize?
A year later, okay. So Andy and I, the club comes to Denver, Colorado, on the first step of their 4-city tour in the summer of 2019. Andy and I are feeling pretty good about ourselves. We're hobnobbing. We got media passes. Later that night, we ended up actually interviewing Josh Kroenke. But at the pub before the game, Arsenal trots out Ray Parler as their kind of emissary. And so we get a chance because we were doing a charity fundraiser as well for Gooners versus Cancer. And we kind of had the mic at the pub. And that's
the question you asked.
So that's my exact point. This is the moment. This is the moment This is the moment that Arsenal invincible legend Ray Parler finds himself in between Andy and I for the first time.
Anything.
We're here with Ray Parler. It's only Ray Parler here. I know anything, guys. Cheers, doing well. It's the Gooners podcast. Raising money today for Gooners versus Cancer. I have 2 questions I'm dying to ask. First of all, was there any greater moment than being in the Sutton United locker room? Looking to your right, some dude with no pants on.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shock for me as well. I'm used to seeing people with no pants on, to be fair. He's had it all their career, but obviously when I've got a suit on and he's got nothing on, and it's on TV, my daughter's noticed it, which I'm not happy with.
I hate to say this, but you look pretty excited to see it.
So I don't know how much you can hear of that. Could you hear what he was saying?
Daughter's story.
Watch it.
I spent about half an hour last night trying to get the background noise out and try to fix the levels so that you could hear it. I hope that you were able to hear what he said.
Yeah,
the first question we asked.
Every word. We heard every word.
He's like, I'm used to seeing people without clothes on, but my daughter's. That just tells you. I think that tells you more about Andy and myself than it does about anybody else.
Proud moment in the history of Sutton United Football Club, right there.
Well, and another proud moment in the history of the Gooners podcast that is where we went with Ray Parler. We had him in our grasp, but it would have been off brand for us to do anything else other than that. So through the whole thing, I mean, all of this stuff, and we'll get to Wayne, including the story of Wayne Shaw, the roly-poly goalie, who we also had on the podcast, I think 2 days after we had you on before the game. Just everything about Sutton, it was just piquing my interest. And so my next pilgrimage over to England for football for Arsenal was about 2 months later. And so I make my way over. I'm with my mates Joey and Tom, and I think that game it was just Joey, but we had to come to a game. I had to see what this was all about. And I think you guys were playing Lincoln that night, who ironically
didn't we? Yeah,
was our following opponent in the quarterfinals
in the cup. Yeah,
in round 6. But so I was like, okay, well we'll see these 2 teams that Arsenal managed to vanquish, and we'll see them play each other at the Lane. And I loved it. I mean, I just what I didn't expect was the clubhouse and everything that comes along with it. I didn't expect there to be kind of a community place where everyone would just grab beers, play pool, do whatever, and then also be able to go out and watch the football game. You're used to just the hallways outside of the seating bowl of a massive stadium, and you could stand there and talk, but it's not a community thing. But was this not to make it about us, but I do that sometimes. I mean, was this the first? And I'm not implying that this would be a good thing, but was this the first time you had a couple of Yanks just show up unannounced at your place to check it out?
You'd be surprised. We do.
Nice hand gesture there, by the way. I didn't notice that at the time.
Because you circled it. Of course, you didn't notice it.
I didn't notice it at the time. I noticed it when I uploaded it yesterday to the podcast.
Oh, just the 5 years later. We being a non-league club, you do get lots of people pass through. We do have a kind of a weird following in sort of Scandinavia because they're just nuts about English football. You get everyone from, we've had stag do's just pick us randomly and have the stag as the match day mascot in the full kit, lead the team out, all that's been done. So yeah, it's not unusual to get strange outsiders or outsiders you would probably not normally expect to find in the clubhouse. So yeah, it's not unusual.
Usually referred to as a strange outsider. So I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about, and it was one of the best nights, if not the best night that we spent while we were over there, because it was a great time, and it had very little to do with the quality of the football. And I don't mean the quality of the team. I mean just it wasn't about the game. It was about the experience, which is what I like to think is prevalent about football. So we also, just kind of rolling back to a couple of weeks before the tie, we obviously found out through the press about the legend of a certain 14 stone or no, 20 stone, roly-poly goalie named Wayne Shaw. Yeah. So not only did I find out that the guy was like a slightly less heavy version of me, but he was really nice, accessible. I hit him up on social media. We had him on the podcast, talked about everything. Now, this is all before the game. Then, I hate to drag you back to this, Dan, but in front of millions, this happens. People call it Piegate, but it was Pastygate.
It was a pasty. It was definitely a pasty.
Pasty, not a pie for anyone who wants to be specific on that. But while most of the world was having a laugh, was amused, everybody other than the FA, but you can say that not everybody was amused, and not the least of which yourself, from what you've told me afterwards. So tell me a little bit about the background of how that incident shaped.
It was weird
the following few
because Wayne's a nice guy. He's a big, huge character, lovely guy to have around, and even when people look at him, they think, oh, he's this big fat lad. He's actually not a bad goalkeeper as well. He's actually quite pretty decent stopper.
There was a chance he could have played in that game.
It
wasn't a stunt having him on the team.
No, he. You have to have a sub goalkeeper in the cup. It's stipulated in the rules. If you have to have a secondary keeper. So he was our goalkeeping coach. He's not a kid. He's played at a decent level. He's played around the same level we were at the time. He was the goalkeeping coach, so he got the spot on the bench. So if Warnes had got injured at any point, then Wayne had to play. That wasn't the joke. There was no joke. There was no stunt there at all. Right. He was part of the staff, and throughout the cup run, he was on the bench for us because we had to have one. We had to have a spare keeper. The pie thing happened, or the pasty, that happened. I can see why anyone looking on it from the outside would think that's hilarious because, hey, everyone, a lot of the, he'd got a bit of attention in the run-up, so everyone looks at him and goes, oh, fat lad, going to eat a pie. So, of course, it happened. I think the problem was that the game was going on, and that I think the problem, a lot of people, and myself included in that, thought it made us look a bit too Bob, made us look a bit Sunday League. And from what I understand, the manager at the time, Paul Doswell, thought the same as well. It just, we don't work. The club had worked so hard to be, put itself out there and be up front with club, with the press, the world. Because, like I say, the attention on that game was just ridiculous. And for that to happen, whether I'm not going to get into the argument of whether he did it because of some bets offering the market on it, or he genuinely just went, you know what, I haven't eaten today, so he just grabbed that at half time and was sticking it in his face on the bench.
Yeah, I mean part that the FA or whoever the body is that that would, I mean the gambling element of it is part of it, and frankly, once what was it, Sky Bet or whatever,
some bets, unfortunately,
once that bet is put on the table, you can't win because you either it's completely up to him. It's not a performance-based thing. So I had some empathy for him about that, but it's not a good look. It's not a good look to do that. And for the club, I think you've just put it perfectly. I mean, this is your moment, and it's turned into that.
Well, and I think that's the main thing that most of the guys like me are not happy about. It happened. Look, it's gone. You can't fucking change it. But what a lot of people like me take exception to is, I mean, we now try and take it the other way, and we now make a joke of it ourselves. But that night we were fucking incredible. That team gave absolutely everything. Wenger himself said afterwards, I couldn't believe how long they stayed with us. We worked and worked and worked, kept it to 2-0. Fair play. Arsenal showed the quality when they needed to, and won the game. But we stayed with them. I've never seen a Sutton side play that well collectively. The team were incredible that night.
The odds must have been for a 4 or 5 goal victory.
Oh,
I mean, you covered yourself in glory as much as you possibly could that night.
But
and that wasn't the story after the game.
That's it. Whenever we go prior to getting promoted this last year, you know, we'd go away from home. People would see the colours, see the shirts, or wonder who we were. You know, oh, you've been to football, lads. Who's the team? Sutton United. Oh yeah, fat lad who ate the pie on the bench. And the club's over 120 years old, and it's like there's more to it than that. And I the reason it annoys me a bit is also because all the lads who were out there that night who slogged their bollocks off, performed out of their skins, you know, none of that's remembered by anyone other than us. No one remembers that. No one remembers that game was on BBC One instead of EastEnders. No one remembers that game was watched by apparently close to 100 million people around the world. They just remember Wayne and the pie.
Yeah, and you
That's
know,
that whole cup run, no one knows.
It never occurred to me. I mean, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you've poured your life into the club. This wasn't a one-time thing for you. This isn't a, you know, you don't have, you know, you're not a an Everton fan whose local club is Sutton, so you go and support them. You are, you know, and not everybody even in your blog is this way, but you are one club, and it's always been Sutton United, no matter what level you're at, which I think is fantastic. I mean, it isn't Sutton United.
It was sad. I mean, we don't hate Wayne. We don't dislike the guy. He's a nice fella. It was just, I don't know whether it's poor judgment on his part or he didn't think. I don't know. I've not spoken to him about it.
I wish I had known that. Oh, sorry, Lee.
No, the thing about it is, and you know, I concur with what Dan's saying there. Like, you know, when you play semi-pro or when you're at that level, you do. I know it sounds silly. Everybody tells you to be as professional as you possibly can, even though you're not a professional. You're a semi-professional, but you try and do everything
the right way.
The right way. Now, when I was playing at that level, Friday nights, your mates would be going out. You'd have to stay in. You know what I mean? Like you'd do the professional thing all the time. You'd stay in. You'd have a few beers after the game, back in the day. But ultimately, you weren't going to go out on a Friday night. You'd have to stay in. And if you did go out, but you wouldn't drink. You know what I mean? Like you may go for a meal or something like that. But you'd be professional. When you're playing, and I tell you what you're doing that to be professional for, because one day you never know.
You might be
playing in Arsenal. You might be playing against whatever that one day, especially in the FA Cup. There's always a chance you can get through and whatever, like, you know. And for you know, like, nothing against Wayne, I got no feeling, but for him to do that was a silly thing. It was a silly thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you are right. It was funny for everybody outside of that, you know. And
I totally get that.
But ultimately, you've got 15 other players that are dedicating their whole day to that, doing the right thing, and you are right. You know, I mean, what happens if the goalkeeper got injured and you'd have had to come on? It then just makes a mockery of what you're doing.
Well, it's like you have a Broadway show, and right at the end of the show, you know, the guy, one of the understudies, just comes across and starts going like this in front of everybody, making a fool of themselves. They're like, "Oh yeah, I was at the show where that guy like shot himself on the stage at the end of the show," and they forget that the show was magnificent.
Yeah, well, if he walked around after the game with a pie in his hand, like eating a pie, I don't think no one would have complained about that. It was it's not the right time to do it at that level as a footballer, like, you know what I mean? Because I'll tell you something now. And I mean this sincerely, to get to that level and playing that, you've got to have something about you. You've got to be a decent player.
Yeah.
To get to that level. So realistically, he should, you know, that you could have plucked out another 5 goalkeepers from non-league and would have loved to have been in that position. You know, and that's the thing, you know. So I get it from the professional point of view of it. But I understand it from his point. He was trying to do it for a laugh and all that, like, and it's just probably backfired a little bit down, if I'll be honest.
And I get it judgment. I get it from Dan's point of view now, but I didn't exactly get that right away. And so let me tell you what. How angry were you at me for? Because I thought I'd be a little cheeky.
When you brought Wayne down.
I had stayed in touch with Wayne a little bit, and he, by that point, was, I think, living on the South Coast. He was doing some coaching or Had moved
I think
back
it was it was at Totton, which is sort of in his neck of the woods.
near
Just
Southampton, like that.
Yeah, a little non-league
that
club, yeah.
And so I kept in touch with him. A couple times I'd been to London. I said, let's meet for a pint. I'd love to, chat with you, buy you a pint. Thank you for coming on the podcast, that sort of thing. And so what it ended up turning into is March of 2018. I get in touch with him. And I'm like, we're going to go to Sutton, Woking. Sutton's a lot closer to you than Highbury is. So why don't you come out and join us? We'll have a pint at the pub. And if you want to come to the game, we'll bring you in. I had to meet my twin brother anyway, my smaller twin brother with better hair. God, look at how many chins I have. My God. So here I am. And then he tells me I haven't been back. He said, since I got let go and since that whole thing ended kind of not so great, I haven't been back to Gander Green Lane. I'm like, well, all right, the Yanks are bringing you back. This is going to be great. You're going to reunite with everybody. They're all going to be thrilled to see you. It's going to be great. And, there were some people that were. I mean, he was busy all night taking pictures.
Yeah.
And talking to people. But then I look over my shoulder and you and your lads were sitting on the pool table looking like someone had just shit in their clubhouse. And I felt awful.
I don't think anyone was genuinely angry or upset. It was a bit. I mean, to be honest, he didn't make a big deal of it. He came back. He came to watch the game, and was in the bar afterwards. And loads of people recognised him. He made loads of people's evening. To be brutally honest, still got the selfies with him, and no, it's the lad from the Arsenal game, and all the rest of it.
I don't think he didn't catch any stick, and no one lashed out at him. But what I hadn't expected. That was quite clear was that there were a lot of people who would have preferred that he not have been there, and
that's a shame, isn't it?
There had been a couple of comments made, apparently not by us or anything, behind the scenes when he was obviously the club, because of the betting angle of what had happened. Right. The club obviously went, look, we can't fuck about with this, so they said, look, we're going to have to let you go, and he did take a certain level of exception to that. I know for a fact, and I've seen it. I've seen some of his comments on social media about, that he doesn't hold Sutton United as a club in great regard because of that.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly felt wronged. I mean, his social media. Yeah. I'm skipping ahead here. His social media was not, it was like I understand, but I don't understand type of thing. So, but anyway, I mean, So that's the Wayne Shaw chapter, and I will not make that mistake again. When I come back in about 3 weeks for who is it that it's Swindon Town. I will be with other people, but none of them will be almost as heavy as I am.
They won't be former goalkeeping coaches.
They won't be former goalkeeping coaches, and none of them should be anywhere close to being 20 to 22 stone. So hopefully that will work. So the third visit of mine, the last visit, it was a great one, my favorite one. I mean, I grabbed
the great. Is this the Cricklewood incident, or is this just the?
No, the Cricklewood incident was the first time I came.
Oh yeah, you fell asleep on the train.
I forgot about the Cricklewood incident. I actually literally forgot about that. Yeah, so the first game, I meet up with you guys, and I don't know what happened to Joey because I don't feel like he was with us, but somehow, and this is I'm 44 and I'm still this stupid. I accept a ride from a couple of you to the train station, and in the ride, I'm so drunk that I think that the person that was, the person in the front left seat, which for us would normally be the driver, was like on his phone. He was looking around. I'm like freaking out. I was freaking out that like you're supposed to be driving the car, and little did I
sorry, dude, he sits over there.
Yeah, exactly. So that I remember, but that's about it. So I get on the train. I have a ticket to King's Cross or St. Pancras, one of those. And the next thing I know, I wake up and realize that I've passed King's Cross. I just hop off the thing. Like I burst through the doors at the last possible second. And then I'm like, well, where the hell am I? And I'm in Cricklewood, which is apparently not. It's north of where I used to live in St. John's Wood, but it's north enough that it isn't where I wanted to be, at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll never forget that. And I have. I'm sorry.
It's a bloody theme. This is.
What, me just getting drunk and falling asleep?
Yeah, getting lost
just West Sutton and trains in general.
Oh yeah. The trains in Sutton are and yet we're coming back again in a few weeks. But yeah, so that was my Cricklewood experience. I had a picture of just this tunnel that says Cricklewood, and I'm like, I didn't know at the time whether I was just outside London or if I had like almost made it to Scotland, because I had no clue how long I was out and where this train was going. But so yeah, fun nights. The third time, grab a couple of friends, and sadly and unfortunately, one of them is no longer with us, and rest in peace, Claude. But Lewis, Lee, and myself come down to Sutton, and this is. Lee, I still claim this is where the half pint thing starts. Maybe it was going on before that, but I would like to think that this was the night.
We're saying it was. You
first got, the notification of being, or the reputation of being half pint Lee judges with the fancy finger. Why would you drink more than one half pint? Like, why would if you're going to have 3 beers, 3 half pints, why not just get 2 beers?
I don't know. I don't really know. I just kind of like it. And I'll tell you what, in the summer, it's better getting a half pint because they keep themselves cold. You know what I mean? Like nothing more than a warm pint. So there is a method to my madness, but I get a little bit of stick for it. But hey ho, you know what I mean? So,
perfect half-time drink, half a pint. Perfect half-time drink.
And I'll tell you something now, is when I get on the train, I don't fall asleep because of it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm always at home.
So Dan
doesn't wake up in Cricklewood.
No, I don't. I don't wake up. I know exactly what train station to get off at, and I do. So there you go. So there's not. So who is the fool here? Who is the fool?
Dan's just said half pint is a perfect halftime drink. Now the following night after this game, you and I went to Blackpool in the League Cup at the Emirates and sat in the club level. What was my halftime drink in that game?
He was drinking bloody wine all the time, like, you know what I mean? Like, and because it was free, he was drinking it by the bottle. That's all I'm saying.
I had about 3 half pints of red wine.
I said, calm yourself, Dan. You got to get out for the second half, yeah?
I call this one. I use this picture as my Halloween ornament to scare the children. But so anyway, that
ain't great.
That was all that night. Other than the what happened after the game, and this is where I've got about a 2-minute video to show.
No, can we just tell the one thing before the game? Come on, like, we goes in there, and
yeah.
Go in there.
God rest his soul, but he's going to be rolling over about this.
So if you pay full price or old age pensioners price, which is half price.
Concessions,
yeah. So we've gone in there, and Claude's turned around and said, I'll go in as a full price, even though I'm an old age pensioner, because I want to help the club out non-league and everything like that, like, you know. So well, Claude, that's great, you know what I mean? You're the man, like. So we've all gone in and we've all got these. I don't know if they were yellow tickets. Do you remember, like, you know?
There was one that was yellow and one that was green. I forget which one was which.
We've got the yellow
coloured ticket, yeah.
So anyway, we're half hour in and all that. Look, Claude's got saying he's got the green ticket. He's got
he's paid concession.
He came through the turnstiles last, so no one was watching him when he bought it.
He told us all that he's going to pay full price. And,
give it all the bollocks, and then got in half price.
We've gone out. You know, I mean, Claude, that's you didn't have to do that. That's quite no. I want to do it for. He randomly pulled out. We said, "Where's that green ticket come from?" Like, but that was typical Claude, wasn't it? Like, you know, so.
Yeah. Oh God, that was hilarious. So, and I'm looking for a picture of that. If I can find it, I'll share it. But
I think you took a photo of it, didn't we?
I do, but I didn't take it in Sutton. So I think I took it. We took it at King's Cross Station, I think. So I have to search for. I have to search for it in a different way, but I'll look for it. But so after the game, I'm with a couple of guys from Arsenal Fan TV. So what are we gonna do after the Sutton game? We got to do a video. It's on brand, and we're doing the video after we had missed the train, and we at that moment did not realize or have any way of knowing whether we were going to get home or not. So, so this is about a 2-minute video, which hopefully
we had no clue about getting home.
Hopefully it'll be as funny now as it was to us at the moment. But stay with us, and here's what happened after the game.
Start video. We are now stuck in Sutton.
This is called One Night in Sutton.
One night
in
One
Sutton.
One night in Sutton.
One night in Sutton. One night in Sutton.
We have now
We're not going home.
We're not going home.
We're not going. We're not going.
Just have a look down the roads here. Look.
It's empty.
Down that road there.
Down that road there.
I don't see no fucking
This is
one.
like something out of Only Fools and Horses,
This is
isn't it?
we are now.
I do see our Airbnb though that I just secured for the night.
We are
it's
absolutely
a 2-bedroom.
Oh look, there's life. There's life on Mars.
Signs of life. Please save it. Should we like fucking? Oh,
There's
fuck.
like, well, what a great game it was
Yeah,
today.
let's talk about. We were at
Yeah,
Sutton
let's do a
1,
fan cam.
Chester 1.
It was very nice to see
tremendous game,
Craig
tremendous
Eastman
game.
today, and he had a little chat with us like
Yeah,
ex-Gooner, and
fantastic.
revealed that he was an Arsenal fan as well.
Yeah.
So all good. It was nice
Certainly
guy.
did.
Nice guy.
We're all about to get mugged.
Yeah, it took time to spend, and that was very nice of him.
Whoever ends up
But
with this
he's
phone,
on his
please
way home
post
now.
this video on YouTube.
He's on his way home.
He's on his way home, and we are
We are
not.
not.
So about the game, non-league football, a little different animal than the Premier League, isn't it, Lee?
Definitely so. I did enjoy it. It was very, very physical game. But yeah, enjoyable. Honest football. Got to say that, honest football.
Claude, was it good enough? Does the manager need to be sacked?
Yes. Time to go!
I come to you with the questions that need to be asked.
Stop sticking up for him. It's not good enough, right? It's not good enough to lose 6-2
In any check and trade type of
shape or form. It's also not good to be stuck in Sutton at 11:30 with no trains.
Especially
Not
after
good.
you had half a pint of lager.
Yeah,
those baby pints, eh? Those hard pints.
Judges drank his ass off tonight. If his ass was big enough to have half a pint.
Three! You had 3 off.
3 half pints.
I did not have 3 half pints. Don't take the gimmick. I had 3 beers.
Thanks to Sutton and Gandermonium for.
We'll be back tomorrow for
hosting us.
Blackpool.
Oh, that's
if
right.
we get a train home.
Oh man, that was fun, and we did not get a train home.
No, we didn't. We
Lee, what ended up happening, and how much money do I owe to somebody?
I don't know. We managed to get a cab, didn't we? Like, and he was quite a nice guy, and we got Lewis.
We had to drop Lewis off in somewhere in West London, like near Hounslow or something like that.
And he's pulled up. The cab driver was pulled up. And he's going. Do you remember?
You, Lewis, and hold on. You, Lewis, and Claude are in the back seat, like a couple of school children. I'm in the front seat, the front left seat, as a matter of fact. And I don't know how I got stuck with that, but
because you got us in the bloody mess. You was paying to get us out of it, But he's the cab driver's going. I've got a new cab and all that. Like it's my new car, and we're going. Oh yeah, it's fantastic, lovely car. We're well done, But he's pulled up on to let Lewis out, but the curb's quite high. As Lewis has got out, he's got. He's jumped out. He's kept on. That's my little car.
yeah, the door will never be the same again. He was angry, and then I got to get back into the cab for about another 20 or 30 minute drive to I think he let us off at King's Cross. And you guys, I mean, I've never heard old men giggle at such a high pitched voice before as that time. You and Lewis was gone. You and Claude were just freaking giggling like a couple of schoolgirls. But and then we get back to King's Cross, and one of you forgot your. I think either him or you forgot your pass, your Oyster card. And so I have a video of the two. I'm not going to show it because you could still be probably arrested for it. But a video of the two of you sliding through as one.
Yeah, I had to get him through, didn't I? That's right. Yeah, I had to get him through, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, and there's the concession ticket.
There's the OIP ticket with the scary guy behind him. But I mean, what a night, man! What a night! What a season last season for Sutton, though. So this brings us current now. COVID comes into play. I don't know how much. I mean, I remember seeing a lot of postponements, some abandoned games, a lot of like games stacking up. Not everybody playing the same number of games in the season, but last season, I mean, just start at the beginning and all the way through to the end. And what was that experience like? That carpet ride.
Weird, just weird. The whole of last season was just weird, purely because we go everywhere and watch. Wherever they are, we go and watch them. We schlep up and down England, places like Barrow to Truro. We've been everywhere. So to actually, you do miss the occasional game. It just happens, life as you get older, you have to miss the occasional game, and you get used to it. But not being able, with nothing else to do, you've got money in your pocket, but you're not actually allowed to go and watch your team play, was strange for us. It's a new experience. We're not allowed to do it. So I'll be honest, anyone who watches
hey Robbo.
Yeah, there's Robbo.
Robbo's one of your mates who was in those pictures with us earlier.
Yeah, one of the Gandermonium writers, yeah. But it's I tell you what, anyone who watches their team just on TV, I don't know how you do that. It is shit. I can't do that. I'm sorry. It got to the last few games of that season, and I was like, I'm never watching a game of us on telly again. I can't do it. It's crap. It's just not me. But yeah, the whole season was just weird. We started strongly, started really well, got off the board with 3-4 wins early doors, and bear in mind, all the manager was told to do was keep us in the division. Just keep us up.
And this wasn't Paul Doswell anymore. He had been
this is Matt Gray came in the season before.
Feeling pretty bad about that.
Matt Gray came in, replaced Paul. Paul left. He replaced Paul. Previous season had a slow start, but once we got past Christmas, really he got the side working. We hit our form, and when COVID sort of truncated the season in March, we were sort of lower mid-table but on a really good run since Christmas. So there was a basis there. He signed a couple of extra lads the following year. We started strongly. We got 6-7 games in. You've got 15, 16 points on the board, and you're thinking, well, we only need 50 to stay up. So we're three-quarters of almost a quarter of the way there. Brilliant. And that was kind of the attitude all the way through. It was because 2 years before, the year after we played Arsenal, we'd had a brilliant season under Doz, and we finished third, and we probably should have won the division that year, but we just didn't have that little bit of nous. Didn't quite have the legs.
And there was a playoff in a year or two after the Arsenal experience as well.
Yeah,
that didn't.
Yeah, and we blew the playoffs 90 minutes from Wembley, so we'd been there, but we thought that was our chance gone. It was like we'll never get close to that again. Maybe we'll get a playoff place if we have a good run, but we'll never get close to that. But yeah, just so everyone just wanted to stay in the division, and obviously with COVID and there was no fans, the season started late in October. We were supposed to be in watching games at that point when we kicked off, and that just didn't happen. And the longer it went on, we're all watching on laptops and God knows what else, and the team just kept grinding results out. They didn't let in many goals. They were nicking goals at the other end, and they were just getting the job done. It was perfect National League football. Strong at the back, organised, everyone worked together, and you actually had a bit of pace and a bit of nous in attack, and you could hurt sides. And the results kept coming. And we didn't even, everyone was expecting a bad run. Yeah, they'll get to a point where we'll lose a couple and, we'll drop away. But we were never out of the top three the whole season. They just kept getting results. It kept coming. And then once you get the other side of Christmas, we had 3 away games in 1 week. We had to go to Torquay on a Tuesday. We had to go to Hartlepool on the Saturday, and then Stockport on the Tuesday. 1-1, drew 1, lost 1. Only conceded 1 goal. And suddenly people went, bloody hell, this lot might actually go the distance. And then they started winning games where they weren't playing well. Like we had a game at Dagenham, we were garbage, and we got 2 penalties. Harry Buteman scored both. One of them in the 94th minute. And that's when you start thinking, fucking hell, yeah, there might actually, there's a chance here.
I remember seeing when the optimism, it's still that self-deprecating, I'm not going to let
we
myself
had fun with it.
think this.
We had fun with it.
But you could tell that you were, you could tell from your tweets that you were, there was part of you that was fully on board for this.
Oh yeah, we were. If it happens, it happens. Let's go for it. Let's have a laugh. But yeah, I mean, when you looked, pretty much the whole season was once that last sort of month where we were pretty much top the whole time. You looked at that top 7, the 6 teams behind us, all big sort of football league names. You had Notts County, you had Stockport, you had Torquay, you had Hartlepool, you had Wrexham, all, and Chesterfield, all right behind us, and we're ahead of them all, which was hilarious. We're sitting there going, how the bloody hell are we ahead of all these clubs? They've all got 30% bare minimum bigger budgets than us, but they're not getting it done. And then it just, in the end, we got in for a couple of games over Christmas, and we could see firsthand how good they were. And then the next time we got in, we actually got to see the team live, was penultimate game against Hartlepool when they won the league. So we saw 3 games all season live.
Was there like I didn't obviously get to see it, but was there like a movie moment where the team clinches promotion? 123 years, the first time getting promoted to the football league. I mean, was it just like a pitch invasion type of situation?
No, again, because of COVID, they could only have 1,100 in the ground. No away fans, obviously. So tickets were. I mean, one of the lads did say afterwards in the bar, the last time we could have sold this place out 4 times over was the Arsenal game.
Yeah,
and this is the next one. We could have just sold the ground out loads times over because everyone wanted a ticket. But yeah, there was no Hollywood moment in that. They just got stuck. They got stuck in. They knew they had to win the game. If they won the game, that was it. It was over, and they just steamrolled them. Hartlepool just couldn't. Hartlepool were, in the playoffs themselves. Good side. Dave Challoner, their manager's no mug, but they just weren't in the mood. They just steamrolled them. Just rolled them over. 1-3-0. That job done.
It's amazing. I mean, I was thrilled for you guys, and now I can actually follow the team. I paid for the. I have to be the only American who ponied up about $180 for the iFollow.
No, you're not. Sorry, man.
There's other Americans that have done that.
Yeah,
not expats.
No, there's a chap in Bethune. I think it's Bethune, Texas.
Okay.
He's bought some shares as well in the club. I believe he's a lawyer, but he also runs a gin distillery or a distillery. So we're keen to forge those links.
He's a much better fan than I am.
We're keen to forge those links. But it was just a weird season. Great, probably the greatest season we'll ever have, and no bastard could watch it in person. Typical Sutton. Typical. Everyone just sat there tutting, going, "Well, that's Sutton United all over, isn't it?" Yeah. Great moments like that, and no bugger there to see any of it other than on a laptop screen. It's just.
Well, as we get close to the end, I mean, I just a couple more minutes because I just want to find out the first of all, going to the league. I remember one of you telling me at the game that I was at, we almost can't get promoted to the league because of our 3G pitch. There was this. I'd love to get promoted, but it would also be a problem. Clearly, that problem has been dealt with. But so what transformations happened, both kind of physical to the pitch, to the clubhouse, to the grounds, and just as a club, how do you operate differently? I mean, for one, I looked at the ticket website yesterday because I'm planning on coming out for the Swindon game, and you can't walk up and buy green passes anymore or yellow passes. You got to get them ahead of time. So,
you
so
actually
tell me
have to
about the changes
pre-buy.
now that you're a proper football league.
You could spend all day talking about. I mean, from the moment the trophy was lifted against Hartlepool, the work started. The club had already got quotes for tearing up the 3G pitch, replacing it with a grass surface. There was other stuff we knew we had to do. The ground only had 750 permanent seats, so we need a minimum of 1,000 for your first season. So that's why we've actually had to put a temporary stand up because we can't get the steel to put the permanent structure up. That's coming, I think, next month. So that will go up. The pitch was replaced. God knows what else. All the turnstiles have been ripped out and replaced completely by brand new units. With proper.
Did they make them wide? Do they make them wide enough? Because turnstiles are not my friends.
No. There's a couple of our lads are a little bit upset by that. But
I'll have to pole vault over the fence like Lee did.
I don't know if they do special entry tickets or not, where you can go through the big gate between them. I don't know. That's not my not my situation. I can just get my barcode scanned and just walk through.
Yeah. Well, I get the impression you wake up and you're already in the clubhouse. So.
But turnstiles have been all the turnstiles have been completely changed. As you walk up the driveway, that facade that used to be there is gone completely. It's now just a big gate and just two sets of turnstiles either side. It's a bit boring at the moment. Where you stood with us on for the Lincoln game, the little terrace, the shoebox, that's been demolished. That's gone. That's where I stood and watched Sutton for pretty much the whole time I've been going. So I don't have, and we know everyone's a bit lost at the moment with going back to games because where we've stood's gone because it didn't meet the safety standards, so they had to bulldoze it. So we've lost that. There's so many changes, so many changes that
the obvious question then is like, are you happy? Like you wait. I can't even an American in sports. You can't even. The closest thing is you wait 40 years for your team to finally win a championship, win the Stanley Cup in hockey or the Super Bowl in American football, and but that's not the same as rising and falling through the English football pyramid and having successes and crazy days like Coventry and then Arsenal and then you finally achieve something you've never achieved before. And now the goal is, everything changes around you, and now the goal is just to not go back to where you were the year before. I would imagine the stated goal for the team is to stay up.
Stay up this year.
Right. So 21st would be
third bottom,
job done.
All day long. Yeah, take that. I don't think we'll finish that low because I think the side's better than that. I think they'll finish lower mid-table. Just need to score a few more goals, but the side's more than good enough.
You're solidly in 15th or 16th right now, something like that.
Probably. I mean, to be honest, we should have won easily 2 more games, but just that little. It's like playing the top 7 in the National League pretty much every week. You can't
because a lot of those teams were, and
you can't screw up. You can't. If you make them like Saturday, we absolutely murdered Exeter for 70 minutes. Couldn't score. They bobble in an own goal. We bobble in an own goal, and that's it. Game over. They go and we have to throw everyone even more at it, and they get us on the break later on. But that's the difference. It's fine margins, but it's no different to what we had 5-6 years ago when we came into the National League. You have to take your chances. You can't give silly mistakes away. You can't make errors, and it's like that throughout all levels of football. It's just the margin gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The higher you go. The team will be fine. They'll stay up this year, but it's if they do, then Gander Green Lane will change completely from next summer. The far side will get redeveloped because you get pretty much £1 million every year for being in the Football League. We've spent all that this year on the pitch and everything else that needed doing, but next year it's a free hit. We get 900 grand to again.
Well, and you have to get new packages of half pint glasses as well for the incoming guests. How much longer do you think you got this guy?
Easty,
playing for them. I love the story of Craig Eastman. And I know I've asked you, but I don't know why I can't get this guy to come on to follow us on Twitter and come on the podcast. I mean, I just want to have a nice chat with him and talk about his career and kind of the bookends of Arsenal and Sutton. I mean, it's a great.
We'll try and dig him out for you in the bar and see if we can twist his arm for you.
Well, yeah. I didn't ask him to come on the podcast the last time I saw him, but if he ends up coming into the bar afterwards, I'm going to corner him and I'm going to do a podcast right there.
Do a chat right there. No, Easty's quality. He shouldn't be playing for us. He should be playing at least a division above where we are at the moment. I mean, again, watching him in the centre of the park against Exeter on Saturday.
How old is he now, Dan?
He's 30.
He's just turned 30. Yeah, he's only 30. And he feels that's the thing. Everybody sees him and goes, "Oh, that Eastman lad. Oh, he must be about 35 now."
That's what I thought as well. And then I looked it up.
Yeah,
last night.
he was a bit older than that,
He played with Arsenal from the age of 12 to 23. Kind of got really close to those. Maybe played in some League Cup early round matches.
I think he played a couple of Champions League games. I don't know whether they were qualifiers or just group games against sort of the lesser lights of the group or something. I don't know, but I know he definitely played at least a Champions League game.
Yeah, he was right on the fringes, and then some loans, Colchester, Yeovil, and then arrives at Sutton. 6 years later, 260 appearances, captain of the club, brought you from the 6th tier when he arrived to the 4th tier and the Football League now. I mean, is this when it comes to Sutton United legends? Is he in the list? I mean, I don't know how you would define that. And
he will be. I mean, we obviously have our Hall of Fame thing that is up in the bar. When the time comes, he'll be added to that unquestionably.
Is Betsy Gomes in the Hall of Fame for his contributions?
No.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt with that picture printed on it and wear because
Betsy's more what you would call a cult hero. He's another absolute diamond. The guy's he's a lovely, lovely man,
and not just for that reason, right?
No, he's just a top fella. He was one of those really nice fellas that when you got to speak to him, like I say, he's back playing in France now, Betsy. But yeah, he's more a cult hero.
Well, every team needs their cult heroes, and also the real kind of on the pitch heroes. So we've got for every Thierry Henry, there's a Perry Groves, and that's what gives the team history. For every Lee Judges, there's a Lee Judges. So that's where we wrap up. Lee, anything you want to? I mean, are you free to join us? Are you going to be making another appearance?
Yeah, I'll try and get there. Like, what I mean, I'll definitely try and get there for that one. Like, So.
There's one Sutton home match in the time when I'm over. I was actually considering linking up with you because there's one away. There's one away match that and it sounds like you guys have just smashing days when you go away. Like, I mean, just starts at 7 a.m. I'd be all for that. I mean, you guys probably just be taking the piss out of me.
What date is it?
I'm sorry.
What date is that home game?
Oh, is it the 16th or the 19th? It's a Tuesday night in the middle of October.
Yeah, I should be all right for that night. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll definitely visit, and looking forward to seeing how it's changed and seeing the fellows and not bringing anybody that shouldn't be there. And
everyone's welcome at Gander Green Lane. It's just.
All right. Well, Dan, appreciate it. It's good to see you again. I'll see you in a few weeks. Lee,
we'll do.
See you on you.
Good to see you again, Lee.
Everybody follow Lee.
Good to see you again, yeah.
Everybody follow Lee Judges TV. Everybody follow Gandermonium. It's at Gandermonium on Twitter.
Yep. We're on Instagram as well. We do photos.
Do you do photo shoots or just are they just?
No, it's just crap. It's just the same crap photos over and over again, but just slightly different places now.
And then the full blog is it Gandermonium.com?
That's great. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, check it out. Again, if any, most of the people that are watching are probably Arsenal supporters, but if you have room in your heart for any more football, Sutton United is the best place
for a scuffy League Two club. Give us a shout.
It's just so weird not hearing you say non-league. I mean, the football content awards do their thing, and there's a category for best non-league blog, and I'm looking for you guys in there, and I'm like, well, shit, they're not eligible for that anymore. So congratulations to everybody down at Sutton.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us, and come on, you use.